Chapter 230, Regret. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. God habitat grass was a unique type of grass that contained high toxicity. The toxin refined from a blade of God habitat grass was strong enough to poison 10 myths of martial arts in the heaven realm. If there was enough toxin and its refinement was pure, it could even poison a half-saint if it was refined as a God habitat poisonous pill. Of course, it required at least 100 blades of God habitat grass to refine one God habitat poisonous pill. What was more, only level 6 alchemist could refine it successfully. Though God habitat grass was highly toxic, it was a necessary supplementary medicine to practice the body of the false god. For flesh and blood, God habitat grass is a highly toxic substance. But for the martial soul, it's harmless. If the martial soul absorbs the efficacy of the God habitat grass and I assist it with a special secret skill, it will manifest a holy illusion. Zhang Yuochen opened the wooden case where the God habitat grass was stored carefully. Wisps of black toxic gas swirled out from the wooden case and pervaded the whole internal space of the time and space spinal. Fortunately, Zhang Yuochen was prepared for this. He transferred the power of the space domain and controlled the flow direction of the toxic gas, preventing it from approaching his body. A white light beam shot out from the top of Zhang Yuochen's head. The light spots in the light beam condensed into a martial soul and floated in midair. Under Zhang Yuochen's control, a drop of half-saint's blood, bright as a small red sun, flew out from the jade bottle in front of him. It emitted tremendous breath and quickly fused with the martial soul. After infusing the half-saint's blood, the martial soul became slightly compact and condensed. It began to slowly absorb the gas that the God habitat grass emitted. It would be better to utilize half-saint's light to practice the body of the false god. But since there's no half-saint's light, I have to use half-saint's blood as a substitute. He had obtained 64 drops of half-saint's blood in total from the Qigong secret mansion. He had already used 1 drop, so now he had 63 left. He could successfully practice the body of the false god with 63 drops of half-saint's blood and the power of God habitat grass. Half-saint's blood and God habitat grass were quite precious and priceless. Using them up made his heart ache. But as Zhang Ruochen thought about how he could absorb the power of sacrifice unbridled and enjoy treatment as a god once he successfully practiced the body of the false god, he felt extremely excited. No one would be able to see through his body of the false god, except a half-saint. But how many half-saints did the 36 commanderies of the Omen Ridge have? Even if there were a few half-saints, they rarely showed up given their status. Zhang Yuochen knew more clearly than others how horrible the power of a half-saint was. They could kill a warrior of the heaven realm with only a gaze. The heaven realm was the peak of martial arts and could be regarded as a myth among warriors. But half-saints were beyond the martial arts. They had broken the limitation of human beings and their longevity was way beyond normal mankind. A day and a night passed. The drop of half-saint's blood was absorbed completely by the martial soul and infused with it. Zhang Yuochen's martial soul seemed to be a little stronger and emitted faint holy breath. The second drop of half-saint's blood flew out from the jade bottle and transformed into a dragon-shaped spiritual blood droplet. It looked like the surface of the martial soul was covered with a dragon-shaped armor as it continued to absorb the breath that the God habitat grass emitted. Zhang Yuochen sat cross-legged on the ground. He knitted gestures with both his hands and infused genuine qi into the vessel of spirit constantly to supply the genuine qi that the martial soul needed. Time passed day by day. In the time and space spinal, Zhang Yuochen had absolutely no idea how much time had elapsed. There were only 2 days left before the winter solstice ceremony of worship. Heavy snow fell down from the sky. The colorful and lively imperial palace had turned into a snow city overnight. The Lin family, the 8th class family in the Yunwu Commandery, was encountering a large joyous event. Its number 1 master, Lin Jinai, had broken through to the heaven realm. This was a big event in the martial arts world of the Yunwu Commandery. Numerous people came to the Lin's mansion to congratulate. It should be noted, altogether there were only 14 warriors of the heaven realm in the whole Yunwu Commandery whose names could be called out. Every one of them was extremely powerful, and their presence had a mythical quality. After the birth of a warrior of the heaven realm, the Lin family's status in the Yunwu Commandery immediately rose. They even had a say in the court. They were hosting a family meeting in their mansion. Lin Jinai, who was over 70 years old but looked as if he was 50, sat in the topmost position and emitted a formidable, imposing dignified manner. The powerful genuine chi wave of a warrior of the heaven realm suppressed the air throughout the room. It was as if the air had solidified and couldn't circulate, frightening everyone. Powerful people like Lin Fengxian, Lin Inbo, Lin Xizhao and so on all sat below. Lin Sheniu, Lin Ningshan, and other young geniuses joined the meeting as well. As the current leader of the Lin family, Lin Fengxian stood up and spoke first. He said, "Since my father has broken through to the heaven realm, our family will become a 7th-class family above board. By becoming a 7th-class family we will increase our influence tenfold." Lin Sheniu was the #1 master in the young generation of the Lin family. He sneered and said, "For the Lin family to become a 7th-class family, a catalyst is needed." "What kind of catalyst?" Lin Fengxian asked. Lin Sheniu responded, "We must get the support of the royal family if we want to be a 7th-class family. Ningshan is already 16 years old and it's time to finish the engagement we made 2 years ago. As long as she marries the 7th prince, the Lin family's status in the Yunwu Commandery will increase. At that time, we will naturally become a 7th-class family." Lin Fengxian frowned slightly. He hadn't expected Lin Sheniu to bring this up. 2 years ago, he had been all for the engagement between the 7th prince and Lin Ningshan. But afterwards, he had heard that the real woman the 7th prince wanted to marry was Hanku, the daughter of the head of Yuntai suzerain. Even if Lin Ningshan married the 7th prince, she could only be a concubine. She would have a low status. Hanku definitely did not have a low status. The royal family of the Yunwu Commandery wouldn't dare to bother her, let alone the Lin family. If Lin Ningshan served the same husband, could she live a good life? After all, Lin Fengxian was Lin Ningshan's father. He didn't want to push his daughter into the flame. Lin Ningshan already had an engagement with the 7th prince and it was time to marry her as was scheduled. Perhaps it was too late to break off the engagement. But perhaps now, the birth of a myth of martial arts at the heaven realm in the Lin family would cause a favorable turn. Lin Fengxian instantly cupped one hand in the other to Lin Jinai who sat above and said, "Father, maybe it isn't beneficial for Ningshan to marry the 7th prince. Perhaps it will bring us disaster." Lin Jinai snorted and said, "I told you, you shouldn't have done in the first place, but you didn't believe me. Do you regret it now? If Ningshan and Cheno were to come together, how nice that would be." Lin Ningshan, who sat below naturally heard Lin Jinai mention Zhang Yuochen. Her eyes glimmered faintly but dimmed quickly. She knew that she had no possibility of getting together with Zhang Yuochen. Even if Zhang Yuochen gave her a chance, Commandery Princess Yanjun would not. The Lin family didn't dare to offend Hanku, let alone Commandery Princess Yanjun. She could only blame herself for not knowing how to cherish the opportunity. If she lost it, she lost it. Lin Jinai thought for a while, gazing at Lin Ningshan. He said, "Ningshan, do you want to marry the 7th prince?" Lin Ningshan pursed her lips and shook her head slightly. In just 2 years, Lin Ningshan had met many outstanding women who were more extraordinary than her in the Yuntai suzerain, and she no longer had pride. She had gradually become mature and rational. Lin Jinai said, "All right. I'll go to the Imperial Palace in person for you and the future of the whole Lin family. Since it's us who hoped to arrange the marriage in the beginning, and now we want to break off the engagement, you'd better be prepared mentally. There is not a high chance for success." Lin Ningshan felt happy and thought secretly, "My grandfather is a myth of martial arts of the heaven realm now. Even the Yunwu Commandery prince will show him respect. Perhaps there's a possibility to stop this engagement." Lin Jinai went to the Imperial Palace that very day. After visiting the Yunwu Commandery prince and the queen, he began to discuss the marriage between the 7th prince and Lin Ningshan with them. He put forward the idea of breaking off the engagement. The reason was that Lin Ningshan didn't deserve the 7th prince, and she didn't want to affect his prospects. The Yunwu Commandery prince was extremely angry. He rejected Lin Jinai's suggestion on the spot. A marriage of the royal family was not as easy to break off as they had thought. Lin Jinai knew that it was impossible to terminate the engagement. Then, he thought of another method and made a detour to visit concubine Lin. Lin Jinai was concubine Lin's father. He definitely had the right to see her. He wanted to see Zhang Yuochen first, but hearing that he was secluding himself for refining, he didn't go bother him. He had some words with concubine Lin and told her the awkward situation the Lin family was now facing. As he was leaving the imperial palace, the queen and the seventh prince were also discussing this matter in a secret room. The queen sneered and said, Lin Jinai really has the nerve. He just broke through to the heaven realm and is starting to think that he's invincible. How dare he put forward the idea of breaking off an engagement? Does he think an engagement with the royal family is a trifling matter? Zhang Tangai sat opposite the queen and said, Mother, you've misunderstood Lin Jinai. Have I? The queen asked with surprise. Zhang Tangai said, any intelligent person can see that I'll be together with Han Ku. She's the daughter of the head of Yuntai suzerain. Even 100 Lin Ningshans aren't a patch on one of her fingers. If Lin Jinai is clever, he doesn't dare to marry his granddaughter to me. Compared to her life, the extermination of Lin family is more important. The queen finally understood. She said, my dear son, how sure are you that you will get Han Ku? With a confident smile, Zhang Tangai said, 100%. The queen said, in order to avoid new problems from cropping up unexpectedly, we'd better break off this engagement and let go of the Lin family. Zhang Tangai also knew clearly the green-eyed envy of a woman. Han Ku was a woman too. How could she not get jealous? If the Yunwu commandery was powerful enough, his concubinage was just a small matter. But the influence of the Yunwu commandery didn't match up with the Yuntai suzerain at all. If he dared to have concubines casually, it indeed went against him to pursue Han Ku. Zhang Tangai's eyes became colder. He said, from my point of view, Lin Ningxian is a menial woman. She is dispensable for us, but not for Zhang Yuochen. Perhaps we can use her to deal with him. The queen nodded her head in agreement. She said, Zhang Yuochen has made a lot of progress. In just 2 years he reached the Earth realm. It's said that a master like Ziyan Yang can't kill him either. If we let him go, I'm afraid he'll become a threat to you. Scorn showed in Zhang Tangai's eyes. He laughed and said, I won't give him any chance to grow, mother. You just wait and see. After the ceremony of worship, there will be no more Zhang Yuochen in the Yunwu commandery.